promised, and I think it's time that we give the people what they need, because, I don't know if you've noticed, there's been a lot of arguing over the rankings of late. And, I got a question in my mailbag about, can we stop doing early season rankings and preseason? I get to this every year, and I'm like, no, we won't stop, because you're engaged. You're complaining. That means you like it. We're not going to stop doing things that you clearly like. And, I get frustrated. I get frustrated with the rankings too, though, because obviously they are wild guesses this time of the year. There's no science behind it.
And people lean on them.
And right. But I mean, it's not going to affect the rankings at the end of the season. It never does if you actually look at your history, but it certainly makes people mad now. So I just feel like we need to make some changes and, give the people a more accurate ranking. The FPI was just what inspired us to start this in the offseason. Remember the FPI in the offseason had Auburn at like 9? Wow. And we're like, that's idiotic.
I mean, I don't care. You know that I'm not a math person. I don't care how many SAT prep courses I take. There's nobody that will ever be able to explain to me the math formula of the FPI.
Well, I really don't think I think there's probably a math formula, but normally I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but I do believe somebody at ESPN probably just was like, this is not that interesting. Let's move some teams around. Yeah. Auburn probably was like number 60, and they're like, let's put them 9.
Yeah, Texas is always number 1. It's like, but I think our rankings are more accurate. I think we stand by them. We put our names on it.
Yeah.
We come together and we make sure that we're on the same page. And, I think that if you are going to, refer to a team as a top 5, top 10, top 15 team at any point during the season, it would make most sense to refer to ours, because we actually cover these games. We watch them. We talk about them. We interview people, all the other stuff.
You will hear from Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson. And if you're listening in the podcast form, if you're watching the video, there'll be another video with our interview with KJ. But we are getting deep into
it's ironclad.
Yeah. So I'm ready to go. Michael Grubb says Kansas is number 3. Book it. Well, I'm ready to reveal the rankings. Let's see how Michael did on this. Kansas number 3 feels awfully aggressive, but we'll see what our brains and the computers spit out. Oh, number 5. Kansas is number 5. See, we're not going too far into this, are we? We're not getting over our skis on this.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't want to be crazy about it. 5, I think, is where they earned their spot.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense has been electric. They've been one of the more entertaining teams in the country to watch, and they're undefeated. So what, are you going to put them in the 30s, 40s, or 50s, or are you going to put them where they deserve to be? Now, we didn't want to lose anybody by putting them at 3, though. So we're just doing our best to be as real about this as possible. And I think that this whole list here looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's explain. So we've got Alabama at number 1. Mm-hmm. And listen, scientifically, this is how it should work, because Alabama was number 1 in the preseason AP poll, and Alabama hasn't lost yet.
Yeah, and they've got Nick Saban and the best offensive and the best defensive player in the country, who's arguing that they're the best collective team.
Apparently everyone else, because everybody says Georgia's number 1 right now.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, Stetson Bennett's only averaging like 360 passing yards a game. I guess I need to see more dominant defense. I think did they give up a touchdown last? I think I might have given up a touchdown last week.
Yeah, Georgia's, they're very good. I don't want to come down on them, but I don't know if they're quite there yet.
Yeah,
I need to see more evidence.
Need more data. I need more data on Georgia. But who I don't need more data on, that's USC. They have just bum rushed
everybody.
3 group of 5 opponents, and I am ready to anoint them, even if it means paying you $1,000.
I mean, I feel like this is a admission of you feeling that you're a little bit nervous about what's going to happen here at the end of the season now that we got them in the top 4, but they are just mashing people. Their lines are elite. There's no possible way that you could say that their defense hasn't been much improved, is what we've seen in the past.
There's no way Oregon State will average 9 yards a carry against their defense. That'll never happen. It's not possible.
I think that USC is an infallible national championship favorite, and all I need to see is what we've seen from them and offensively, and they've already proven that to be the case.
So the Kansas Jayhawks. Oh, I guess we should talk about Ohio State. There's a guy, Ari, that tags pretty much every college football media person in the country, like 3 times a day with CJ Stroud stats, and like he's going to just be crushed if CJ Stroud doesn't win the Heisman.
Yeah, maybe
he's going to be very mad about where I have Ohio State in this ranking.
Yeah, I'm always curious about those types of people too, because like, what is it that you're so passionate about that it makes that a daily task for you?
I don't know. I like, and it's one thing if it's somebody else, if it's Grayson McCall, who's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in America for Coastal Carolina, like reminding us that Grayson McCall is a great quarterback. But like, we're not really learning anything from you when you say that CJ Stroud is an excellent quarterback. Yeah. Like, we know that.
It's like like walking into a room in the middle of the day with the lights on and turning on a flashlight and go, see in the corner there? There's a table. Look, look at my flashlight. It's like, dude, we get it. He's good. Yeah, we got it.
So M. Zitzner 72 on the live chat. Where's Syracuse? Beat Purdue and Louisville. Well, in that case, where's Florida State? All right, we've messed this up already.
I think that the reality of it is, Andy, is no matter how much work, time, math, statistics, thought process, off the record interviews that we could possibly do, we're never going to please everybody. You know what I mean? We're like Washington.
It's almost as if we're doing this to make the most people mad, and that we put Alabama and Georgia number 1 and number 2 specifically so some idiot on Twitter will see it and think it's a legitimate ranking.
My favorite pastime,
and then get mad.
My favorite pastime of this entire show is releasing these rankings onto Twitter, and the people who can't see that it's a joke or read the acronym for that matter, freaking out. It's hilarious to me. And yes, it never.
The Andy Staples Show, computer, laptop, organized win nexus. It just rolls off the tongue. Well, let's finish. So we got Texas at number 6, and listen,
you almost
lost to Alabama.
Yeah, I mean they almost won. To me, that's about losing to Alabama by what was it, 1 or 2? Yeah. is more impressive to me than beating a top 25 team by 20.
Absolutely, a great loss beats a good win anytime.
I agree. I'm going to do the mock playoff committee thing this week.
Oh,
where I'm a committee member in a simulated world, and I cannot wait to argue good losses in there.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be truly amazing. I did it. I was actually in the first group that did it, and was the chair. And Jeff Long, who was at the time the Arkansas AD, who was the actual chair of the CFP committee, but they'd never even actually met yet. They had done a practice like we were doing, but they hadn't even actually met. And he's like taking notes the whole time, like what not to do.
Yeah. What can I learn from Andy Staples on how to approach this when we're actually doing it with the entire country sitting on the edge of their seat? But I don't know,
we did a mock press conference afterward because we used 2008 as our, because they figured a year where there was a lot of controversy, where there would be some very difficult decisions, and I'm just throwing everyone under the bus for not having Texas in the field. I voted for him. I don't know what these people did wrong.
Yeah. What year did you do? You said
we did 2008. Oh, it was 2014 when we did it, but they gave us the 2008.
Oh, okay. Because we're actually doing 2014, and I think that's probably the hardest year of all the years to do it.
Well, just remember that Baylor beat TCU and stop acting like they didn't, like the real committee did for every ranking until the last one when they finally flipped it and got it right.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very interesting for me. I'm going to have to wash my brain. And I have to go in there without what I know about that season, and really I'm going to go in there with a full heart. I don't think the committee's ever seen anybody like me, Andy. Like, I'm going to be bringing up 247 sports composite rankings in that room.
You're like, do you know where Texas is in the 24/7? Well, it'll help your case when you're trying to get Ohio State at number 4.
Are there people out there that don't think it's that's important?
Yes.
It annoys people that I reference it.
Not most people. Most people understand that having better players is helpful, but there are people, we'll like to call them Brian Harsin, who think that you can heart and grit your way past Nick Saban and Kirby Smart.
But is it an inappropriate thing to reference? And I'm not saying I'm going to reference the 247 sports composite rankings by name. But is it inappropriate in that setting to reference team talent levels?
It is very appropriate if it's a tiebreaker, if the team that is talented is also achieving at a level commensurate with the talent. If the team is grossly underachieving, no, I don't think it helps at all. I
You got
think
two
you're just
teams
saying,
with very similar resumes,
right,
that have
talent
achieved.
can't be an excuse for losing, but it can be a tiebreaker. Because what you're going to say is, when this team plays, and so in 2014, you're going to be saying, when this team plays Alabama or when this team plays Oregon, which one of these two has a better shot of winning that game?
Because you have to
By
take
the
that
way,
into account.
I think that's what the actual committee did in 2014 when it was Ohio State, Baylor, TCU. Which one had a chance of actually winning the game? And guess what? They picked the one that did, and that team won the national championship.
Yeah. And it's like, you never, college football, you can't go back and be like, well, Baylor would have won it. But I always thought it was strange at the TCU Baylor discussion. It's like, when you have two teams that are sharing a conference championship play each other and one wins and the other one loses, that's it.
It's not
That's
rocket science. Like,
it's
it ain't
over. Like,
complicated.
there's no discussion.
So on that last day of the 2014 season, I was in Texas. I went to, it was TCU Iowa State at noon, and then Baylor played Kansas State at night. I went to both games, watched Art Briles nearly strangle Bob Bowlesby on the podium because he was like, well, co-champs. Like, I watched them give out 2 trophies.
Yeah.
You know what their motto was advertising that season, right? What the Big 12's motto was? One true champion.
Isn't that still what it is?
No, they've changed it.
Yeah, if it's one true champion, you can't have you have to have a conference championship game, and at the time that didn't exist. So, but it is certainly going to be a very exciting thing for me, because I'm really very opinionated when it comes to these playoff rankings, and we talk about them on the show all the time. And I'm very excited to be in that setting and kind of get a deeper understanding of what actually goes on in there. But Andy,
yes,
we have to reward the people who are listening to the show with the benefit of the doubt of what these rankings mean, because all the people on Twitter who don't listen to the show can freak out.
Yes.
But should we explain to the
also,
people?
If you're listening to the podcast, you haven't seen the rank. If you're watching on the YouTube feed, you've got the rankings in front of you, and you may have some questions. Michael Grubbs has some theories on the live chat. He says, don't lie. You put Texas as number 6 because Kansas is number 5. Oh, I wouldn't lie to you, Michael. That's exactly why I put Kansas above Texas.
So do you want to read the rankings out to people who are listening in audio form? And then do you want to give away why we put them together?
Well, absolutely. Number 7 is Clemson. That one, I really just needed to put Clemson in there somewhere. I don't know that I have a lot of science behind that. Number 8 is Michigan. I figured having them below Clemson, Texas, and Kansas would piss Michigan fans off. I have actual doubts. I'm breaking kayfabe here. I have actual doubts because I want to see Clemson. I want to see Michigan play a team with a pulse before I get too excited about how awesome they've looked this season.
It is the worst non-conference schedule of all time, right?
Basically. Some of those old Baylor ones were pretty awful, but this is
because this one, I think all 3 teams that they've played are in the bottom 25 in all major metrics.
Yes. Yeah. So I need to see. Now they're playing Maryland this week, and Maryland has had a good run early season, but they haven't really played anybody yet either. So
they can score, though.
They can definitely score. So I want to see them do it against teams that are a little more capable. And so that's actually that might be the only legitimate ranking in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Number 9
Oklahoma polls of believability too.
Yeah. Number 9, Oklahoma State. Mostly I put them up here because I put them above Oklahoma just to make the Oklahoma people mad. Mike Gundy says goodbye to Bedlam. I've heard a lot of people talking about this who don't understand what's going on there. Oklahoma is happy to play Oklahoma State going forward. Oklahoma State's like, no, you left and took the money, so we won't play you. So congratulations, I guess, on not being able to play the rival that beats you like 85% of the time. And they're just going to go play Georgia and Florida and Auburn and LSU and Tennessee.
What did
and
you
not
think of
not
what?
really care.
Did you see the Mike Gundy interview?
I did.
What did you think of it?
I mean, it's fine. I understand why they want to be defiant about this, but if they want to play Oklahoma, they can. It's up to them.
And it's just because you have games scheduled in the 2030s doesn't mean that you can't get out of those games.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if they want to play Oklahoma, they can. Oklahoma will play them.
And imagine Oklahoma's schedule with with Bedlam on that when they're in the SEC.
Oh, it'd be crazy.
You adding an extra game where there's a lot of passion in that state for it. Like that would be a really hard schedule for Oklahoma.
Yeah. This is not like Texas and Texas A&M where they were both complete babies about it and wouldn't play each other, and now they have to because they're going to be in the same conference again, unless the conference is stupid and goes with 8.
I mean, would you
games.
act that way though? Like, let's make a real life analogy.
Yep.
And sometimes my analogies are money, and sometimes they're completely crazy. I'm trying to come up with one where you are in an agreement with somebody about something, and then they do something to you behind your back to better themselves.
Yep.
And then they came back and said, "Well, you know what? We'll still do the agreement that we had." Like, wouldn't you kind of have like a?
Oh yeah, no, I don't listen. I don't blame Oklahoma State at all, but you're only playing yourself. Like Oklahoma gets to play a bunch of really good, massive brand name teams. Like it doesn't hurt them one bit to not play you. It hurts you to not play them.
Yeah. So you kind of have to swallow your pride and just accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, and look, the record in that series is not great either. So they do have scoreboard right now, though.
Okay, but this is the chef kiss right here, the chef's kiss.
Here we go.
Michigan and Oklahoma State at 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 are, I think this was your crowning achievement, Andy.
Arkansas, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee. That's right. These are all SEC teams. They're all undefeated. They are ranked in no particular order because they are undefeated SEC teams.
It's just a blob of SEC. Just throw it in there. Just
even though they've only played combined 2 conference games. Arkansas beat South Carolina, Kentucky beat Florida.
And there's no rhyme or reason for any of their rankings other than SEC splatter.
I have no clue which one of these is better than any other one. They're undefeated and they're in the SEC, and I rank them in alphabetical order.
And then Oklahoma is 14 because they're not as good as Oklahoma State or any of those teams in the SEC because they're not in the SEC yet.
They're not in the SEC.
And then Notre Dame is 15.
If they were in the SEC, though, they'd be ranked number 4.
Yes,
down Ohio State.
That's right. And then Notre Dame is number 15 because they got their first win. They won. Hey, they had a tough opponent to start the year off.
A good loss against Ohio State.
A good loss and a win is better than 2 losses. So let's go. I'm going to go down the list here and just you correct me if you think I'm wrong with explaining it. We put Alabama number 1 because everybody's going to look at this and freak out that Alabama's ahead of Georgia because we both agree that Georgia has done more this year. And what they should be ranked, right? And
Absolutely.
Alabama has shown some deficiencies against a good team that they played. Georgia seems to be the best team, but putting Alabama number 1 annoys Georgia fans because Georgia is number 1. But then it
annoys anybody with eyes at this
because
point.
Alabama is just like there because they're always there. USC being number 3 is the most overreaction that you could have to 3 non-conference blowouts. But the fact that everybody wants them to be back and Lincoln Riley is kind of the heel of the sport right now.
It's perfect. Yes.
For Ohio State is a tent pole, top 4. It makes because we have to make this.
Of course, I'm mad if I'm an Ohio State fan.
But you're mad because they should be 3 probably. How are they behind USC? But it's a tent pole there to make because we have to like line the poll with some air of believability. Right. So when people look at it, it's not completely insane. Kansas being 3-0, throw them in the top 5. People will think that there's a statement being made there because we think that any undefeated team deserves to do that.
Of course.
6 Texas is amazing because they almost beat Alabama, but they did lose, and they kind of got beat up a little bit against UTSA for a while there,
and they are below Kansas. That is the important
directly
thing.
Below Kansas
because you're not supposed to care about last season, but Kansas beat them last season.
Yes, Clemson and Michigan are just there again as more tentpole type rankings, more believable rankings, and then 9 Oklahoma State just to needle Oklahoma. Then you've got 4 SEC teams in no particular order, just in the rankings.
Alphabetical order, Ari.
Alphabetical order, just because they're in the SEC. Then Oklahoma, which is a direct statement that they're not as good as the SEC, the conference that they're definitely trying to join in order to harness that SEC bias that everyone screams about. And then Notre Dame, doing nothing to kill their ranking like a cockroach. And it's just a brand that everybody hates. I don't think that you could have come up with a more perfect top 15. Also, the first reaction that I had when
no Washington, no Syracuse.
No Washington and no Syracuse during a time in which both of those fan bases are fired up for the first time in a while, I thought was just the dessert to the perfect entree. I honestly think that was our best one. I don't think that you could piss off more people with a ranking than we did in that one.
Yeah, because omitting, and that's the best thing about there actually being data now, is who you omit is as important as who you include.
It's like Washington just beat the crap out of Michigan State on
Washington looked amazing. Like
their fans, like they fired their coach last year. Their recruiting has been a little down. They're upset, and they finally got like some affirmation that things might be okay, and it's just like completely unrecognized by the people who are doing this. Like I thought it was the perfect rankings, and I appreciate you for putting them in that nice file there. And the thing too is like Alabama being number one annoys the entire country, but Alabama fans are so spoiled from winning all the time.
They're like, hell yeah, finally somebody sees it.
And like nobody's like, there's no real satisfaction from them. Like it hurts Georgia more than it pleases the fans.
Yes. We do strive. I mean, we're all in the trust tree now. We are striving for the stupidest rankings humanly possible, and I think we might have
listen to the show are in on it.
Yeah.
The people who don't listen to the show aren't in on it. So I hope that everybody listening, whether it be on YouTube Live right now or in podcast form, takes in the gratification of watching people melt down on Twitter.
This is what I love about our listeners, because our listeners got this immediately. Like we didn't have to explain it to them. They got it immediately. And our listeners are the type that look at college football rankings and rather than complain about them are like, I understand why they exist. I understand why they're here. This is not a thing that will bother me. Because you are intelligent people. Like you tell on yourself when you're yelling about this. Like they shouldn't start these till October. Well, they do start the only ones that actually count in October. Yeah, but those are wrong too. And they've been influenced by the AP poll. No, they haven't.
No, they haven't.
Go back and look at history. They weren't influenced at all by the AP poll.
Yeah, I'm super excited about doing this though, Andy, and we'll talk about it after I'm done. Later in the week when we get Nicole on. But
Zitzner 72 in the chat. We're stuck in a horrible ACC contract. This poll is all Cuse fans have. And that's why we do it.
And that's why we do it. I don't know. Maybe we should do it more often, Andy. Anytime.
I don't know if the world can handle this once a week.
Like every Monday at 10 a.m. we release the Ass Clown rankings. But yeah, okay. Well, that was good. I had fun with that.
Well, excellent.
And I can't wait to come up with more ways to needle people as we get more results in.
So if you're listening on the podcast, you are about to hear a fantastic interview with Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson. The Hogs face Texas A&M in a game that Ari will be at in person. And actually, we wind up putting some stakes on this game that most of you will feel like are not. If I lose this bet, I'm actually winning, though I'm not so sure about it. And then later in the show, on the podcast version, Dane Brugler, our draft guru at The Athletic, he and I do a draft show together called Prospects to Pros. It drops every Wednesday. Maybe you're already subscribed to the Athletic Football Show feed, and if you're not, by all means do that, and you can listen to the full show. We're going to have a nice, meaty clip from that show where we talk about some of the college guys that really showed out last weekend and how they might have helped their draft stock. So we've got a lot going on. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. And the Ask Clown rankings will come back soon. I'm just not sure the world is ready for them next week. We'll talk to you soon.